And that's right. Y'all are locked into another episode of The Real Lil Show is going down, just so you know and believe what's going down. All right. Welcome aboard. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you support new media. All right, new content, real talk, real impact. You know, we do it here on the show, The Real Lil, man. You know how we go. And when I tell you we got a good show, I believe you, me, we do have a good show. We had a good one last night, and I think this is only going to get amplified today because we got some very good controversial topics that you know. I love the controversial topics. You know, I just have a feel for it, you know. But I got my guy Lee in the building. He's ready to run it back, and we ready to run it back. And when I tell you got a stacked show, Lee, I'm going to give them the rundown. All right, you know what we talking about. I know what we talking about, but they don't know. Right? They don't know. They don't know. I'm going to tell y'all right now, though. We are going to talk about Carmelo Anthony comments, right? He made some comments about JB Smooth and the fact that he didn't understand the pay cut. I'm going to play the clip. I'm going to give you my take on that. And what does that mean bigger picture wise? Also, we're going to talk about Sophie Cunningham and her comments that she made about the WNBA. Well, not the WNBA, but, you know, about a particular thing. We're going to break it down, right? We're going to speak, right? We're going to talk it down, and we're going to give our takes like we normally do. I got my guy Lee in the building. Lee, how you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. Good topics tonight. Interesting comments, and
appreciate you, my guy.
We gonna run it back and do it again, man. Do it again.
Yes, sir. I mean, good remarks on the last show we did, Lee, so we might as well go for the two-peat here. We might as well get right to it.
Let's do it.
What I want to do now is I want to play a clip from Sophie Cunningham and also from somebody else in the WNBA. I want to run them back to back as I do want to give some context before I play those clips. Now, Sophie Cunningham gave some thoughts about transgender, entering the sport, of women and whatnot. And obviously that's always going to be a controversial topic. And I want to play the clip from her. And then I also want to play the opposing side as well. So we'll get that up in there. So let's run the clip from Sophie Cunningham. Let's go where we started. I'm going to run the clip right about now.
Against biological men. Just can you expand your viewpoint on that?
I mean, I think I said what I said. I think it's kind of common sense. And I think I'll always believe in that. I think it's really important to protect children. And that's little girls who are also involved in that category. And so I stand on what I said, and I always believe that.
Yeah. Do you see your advocacy on that, like taking any form going forward?
You know, I don't know. I'm not a very political person, but I do have beliefs. I have morals, and I'll always stand on those and be true to who I am. And I think people are going to take it how they want to take it, but I've never even really said anything about that. And so when it comes just to protecting young girls in sport and women in sport, I feel very strongly about that. I think that's why you have Title IX. That's why you have some of the greats in women's sports. If Title IX and women's sports weren't protected, then you wouldn't hear about any type of women in sport. And so I think in the future, it's just really important to protect.
Let's run the next.
And the protests for her and protests against her, and they had a national televised game today and Cheryl wore a shirt, and it's just a conversation. I'm wondering, just what do you think about it? Do you think that's good for the league? Does it detract from the basketball? Is it just noise? I'm just wondering what your opinion is.
I think thank you for that question. I think just in terms of how I'm seeing it is, if I could answer with, like, for me, sports is about belonging. It's about inclusivity. It's about allowing everyone to be their authentic self. I'm big on that just because I have been criticized for my height, for my ethnicity. I've been in those "you shouldn't belong here" many times. And for me, I don't want that space, especially Golden State, to ever feel like that. So I'm all about women, little girls deserving to play.
All right, Lee, I want to talk about this. Does Sophie Cunningham's transgender comments help or hurt the WNBA? And then I also want to get into the political sports landscape, probably in our next lap. Lee, feel free to take whatever angle you want to take on this subject. I don't want to get you shut down here. Obviously, I'm going to say my piece because that's what I do. I can't help myself.
No,
But I'll let you take the angle you want to
it's
take.
all good. No, it's all
The mic
good.
is yours.
Yeah, let me say this, Lil. As far as does it help or hurt the WNBA, I think when you look at, a league that's probably 75% lesbian players in that league, when you look at that, and you're going to have some differing opinions on transgender athletes being in the league. We don't have any in there right now. I don't think any of them have applied to go there, but one day that's probably going to happen, or someone's going to try to do that. I pride myself on knowing all the facts when we talk about stuff. Lil, I'm a stat guy, a statistic guy. I'm going to look at this and analyze the numbers type of guy, and the data over transgender athletes and them participate. It's all over the place, really. If you look at one study, it comes this way. You look at another study, it goes that way. And so with that data being all over the place, I just feel like you're going to have different opinions for people who you asked about this topic. And there you saw Sophie Cunningham had a particular opinion. And then the coach for the Valkyries came out a little bit differently on that as well. So you're going to have that because there is no really true data to support when people are transitioning. So for me, I'm not a big, huge transgender men playing against women. I don't know. I don't think that is. I don't think that's something that we should be doing at this point. I think that you have to look at more of the evidence and how they break down the evidence. But I think people have a right to have their opinions. And as far as shutting down Sophie Cunningham or cancel culture with Sophie, I think she has a right to have her opinion, right? Just like the Valkyries coach have a right to have her opinion. You have to look at this stuff in the space that it is. I don't see that happening in the WNBA soon because it hasn't transitioned to the college ranks and even the high school ranks on a larger scale. Different states have passed different legislation, and then the federal government has passed legislation as far as they don't want to see transgender athletes competing against the opposite sex. So we have to see where that goes, but people have a right to have their opinion. And we're a free society, and Sophie has a right to have her opinion. The Valkyries coach has a right to say that what she said, and we just have to really analyze what we're trying to accomplish when we have these type of discussions as far as should a transition male play with females, because you can look at it from two perspectives and say, no matter what you say, biologically, they were, they were a male. And so they may have added advantages over females because males do. So what does the data say? Now, I need to see more of the research. I need to do more research on it myself. And then I will, if I feel like that I need to change my opinion on it, I will. But at this point, the research is what it is. And I don't think it's going to affect the WNBA right now. As far as the political scene in sports, it's changed tremendously. We didn't have all of the political stuff 5 years ago, certainly not 10 years ago. You played on merit. It was about your skill. And now you look at all of the talk around Caitlin Clark, around Angel Reese, all of this stuff. And we've really taken what we grew up is competition was the key, and we've made political the face of a league that's growing, that's expiring, but people are using this league for their own political gain, and that's a shame in my opinion.
That's an interesting point that you just made where you landed that plane in your first lap, and I want to come back to that because I think that's a very fascinating point. Now, I do want to bring it back. I do want to dial it back a little bit, and I want to talk about, this Sophie Cunningham situation. Now, to me, it helps the WNBA from this standpoint. Now, Lee, firstly, let me say this. I am a type of person, I have conservative values. Okay. And I do believe that people have the right to politically see things how they want to see things, on both sides. I believe in freedom of speech. I believe in freedom of religion. Now, as a sports fan that I am in general, there's nothing politically that can stop me from watching sports because, I'm a sports fan before I am anything else, to be honest with you. Before I even knew about politics, I knew about the game. Okay, before I even knew about politics, I knew about the game. So there's nothing that somebody could say or somebody can chastise somebody that's going to make me stop watching sports. Just not going to happen. Because at the end of the day, sports is something that we all have the ability to watch, and we all should have the right to watch, no matter where we stand on the political side or what we believe is to be true or not outside of the game. The game is for pretty much everybody. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Let's not play ourselves here, right? In the same token, the reality is when you talk about the WNBA, and I understand it, a lot of people, a lot of conservatives like myself, and like I just said, I don't get turned off politically, right? If I want to watch the WNBA, I want to watch the WNBA, just like I want to watch the NFL, the NBA. But there's a lot of conservatives that share similar values as do I, that would never have watched the WNBA prior to what's been going on with Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham. She just brought in a base that would have never watched a WNBA. Why? Because unfortunately, that's where the other dynamics come into play, because the WNBAs are predominantly LGBTQ, and that goes against some of those political values of the conservative party. So without Caitlin Clark being a gift from God to the WNBA, let's call a spade, Lee. The WNBA, right, has gotten more exposure. Caitlin Clark fell right in their lap like a gift from God, played a significant part in the league's growing revenue, whether we like it or not, whether we try to downplay it or not. She played a significant part in the growth of the WNBA. Sophie Cunningham, in her own right, is a good addition to the WNBA. But what Sophie Cunningham is doing is protecting girls. And to me, that's not anything political. It's protecting girls from biology. Because again, Lee, and I want to preface by saying this. What's the name? Serena Williams came out and she made a comment a long time ago. Lee, I'm not sure if you peeped that comment that I'm about to say. But she talked about, I think it was on a show. It might have been a night show or a podcast or whatever. And she came out, she talked about how if she played a middle of the pack Andy Murray in men's tennis, who, top 10 guy at the time that she made this comment, not the top tier guy like the Djokovic and the Roger Federer and the Nadal, but, right under that pecking order right there, second tier guy, close to the top tier guy. She said that if she played him, she would lose 6-0, right? 6-0. Adding that, tennis, women's tennis and men's tennis are two separate sports. This is Serena Williams here talking. Serena Williams, arguably, and I don't really think it's arguable, the most dominant women's athlete of all time, saying that she believed a middle of the pack Andy Murray would smoke her 101.
I believe that too.
And I do believe that as well, as great as Serena Williams is. So with that being said, when you come out and sometimes you state what should be, it should be obvious. I mean, look, I don't have nothing against trans people. Let me preface by saying that. And what my job is and what I do for a living outside of, podcasting is I help change people's lives. Okay. And I don't really like to take credit for that because at the end of the day, there's a process that you have to want to go through in order to change your life. I can't do it for you, but I play the middleman of having people change their lives. And I like to see it no matter, I don't think about your race. I don't think about what you believe in. And I work with different people all the time to get them to change their life. And guess what? I feel gratified doing. It's the best part of my job. But with that being said, when it comes to logic, and I'm a very logical person, nobody's going to tell me 2 + 2 is 5. And I'm going to believe that it's 4. And it will always be 4 for me. So when you talk about sports, I do believe fair is fair. Women have fought hard throughout the decades with Title IX and everything to give them an opportunity to compete on the same plateau as a man. And they should have that right to be able to do so. We all know physically, and this is biology here, physically, a man is more, I guess you could say, physically superior than a woman. All right?
For the most part, yeah. For the most part.
All right. So let's not, you could miss me with the Captain Saber-Ho conversation here. Okay. Let's be logical here. Again, this is not me saying that I don't like a certain person. No, I like everybody. I think everybody has a right to live and be who they want to be. But at the end of the day, I can't just walk up into the girls' bathroom and take shots. Like, no, come on. All right. So yeah, Lee, that's how I look at it, and I'll give you the mic.
Well, Lil, where does because again, I believe in science, I believe in biology. Where does the fact that with a transgender person, woman, male, whatever, they take hormones to decrease that superiority. So the hormones that they take do adjust their body, does adjust their strength. It does make them a different person. That's why I say that the science, and I'm not going to make snap judgments on anything. I have to follow that science of it. Now, again, on the surface, I hear what you're saying. And certainly, in my have a guy of my age and what I've lived, and I do see the point of view of people who say male versus female. That's a male playing against females. But you have to also introduce some of the hormones, how physically those hormones change a person's body.
I mean, Lee, let's speak real here. Okay, let's be real for a second. And then we could obviously change the course. Let's be real for 1 minute. If there's a guy in the street just beating up on a woman, beating her to a pulp, there's going to be bystanders that's going to step in, especially if you call yourself a man, right? I know I wouldn't sit there and watch a grown man beat up on a woman in the street, right? And just act like it doesn't happen. Okay. So we can't bake our cake and eat it too here. So when you talk about what's right and what's wrong, at the end of the day, we know men, I was always taught in school that, women smack you, hey, just roll with the punch. Don't put your hands on a woman. So how are we allowing that to happen here? Now, this is not WNBA, but there is Olympics, and the Olympics, as we saw.
Yeah, but
in the Olympics, when they had the wrestling or whatever it was, boxing, we seen a woman that was a guy that was dominating a woman, and it was unfair. We seen that. So, but we can't just act like
you can't dismiss the science, though. You can't make that statement and then dismiss the science, because the science is part of the equation of what we're talking about. And the science, physiologically, it will change when you take these hormones and you do these other things that transitions you. Now, doesn't mean that you still should be able to participate, but you cannot make the statement and then dismiss the hormones and other things that the trans people are getting to change them physically and psychologically. You can't dismiss that, because
but if a boxer took steroids,
it still makes them it does change them, Lil.
And if boxers take steroids, it's a problem. At the end of the day, with an athlete in general, there should be no substances.
It's not steroids, though. It's not steroids.
Hormones, steroids, whatever. I don't believe an athlete should take anything.
Well, but you have to understand, whether you believe in it or not is not the issue. The issue is whether it actually physically changes the person. That's the issue. People can believe or don't believe, that's their right, but does it actually make a difference? That's when I say that you need to follow the science and be educated about it. Now, for me, still, I have my views on that, but I am open-minded enough to look at data and see how it changes before I just say, lay down the hammer, because if you don't do that, then for me, I'm not making an educated decision.
Lee, I just hate to be Captain Obvious here, and I hate that we've gotten to this point in a country where we have to define what certain things are. We should already know what certain things are. All right, just like how we never redefined the dictionary, just like how we never redefined the dictionary. I don't think I need to do any redefining here on this podcast. We know what is what, we know who is what, and we'll just leave it like that, Lee. All right, and it should remain that. All right, don't let this AI get everything twisted. All right, this is a world that was organically created, and we need to keep it that way. And I'll just leave that there, Lee.
I'll leave that there for peep stakes. I'll say my values are what my values are. I'm not saying personally whether I would go that route, or if I was the commissioner, I would allow this, that, or the other. But you cannot say we know what God created, but you cannot say if someone is injected or taking hormones that it doesn't change it, because that's not factually true, Leo. You can say what you want, but factually we're talking about. Now, that's a different argument as to whether it should occur, but the facts are the facts. You can't change the facts. You still can make a decision, but you can't change the facts.
Yeah, well, the facts is, you want to talk about facts, Lee? Please don't get me in trouble here. You know what, Anthony Fauci, in honor of you, I'll plead the fifth. Because we don't want to talk about facts, Lee. This whole conversation will be shut down if we talk about facts. We know what facts are. Anyway, Lee, we're going to transition a little bit within this topic because, look, the reality is sports has shifted when it comes to the political landscape. And that's one thing that factually we can't deny. Now, there's certain things that happen. Now, look, I do want to talk about this Sophie Cunningham foul situation. I want to play the clip as I talk here and narrate the clip, because to be honest with you, I do believe that she's going to get targeted, because that's what happens when you make certain comments that people didn't really ask you your opinion on or ask you to make. You're going to get targeted. That comes with the territory. And I don't know how this is a foul on Sophie when she clearly got elbowed in the face. Now, Lee, if I wasn't watching the WNBA a little bit more than I have had in the past, I would have been like, okay, yeah, cancel culture. There you go. They're definitely out to get her. But I've been seeing some horrible calls by the referees that this doesn't even surprise me either. So rather than me make assumptions and promote narratives, I'm just going to act like that was just a terrible call, which I often see in the WNBA since I've been keeping tabs on it. But maybe, Lee, you see otherwise. Well, enlighten me.
I'm a referee. I referee basketball. That is a foul, Leo. She's up underneath him. She has the right to clear as long as she don't swing her elbows. That is a foul. So just to let you know, see, different people see different things.
Lee, factually, I don't know what to believe anymore. I thought I knew what certain things was, and clearly I don't. So I don't know if what I'm seeing is a foul or not. Maybe biologically, hormonally, that's not a foul.
That's a foul. See, well, people see what they want to see. That's what I'm saying. That's a foul. You cannot get. She was up in her space. She has a right to clear with the basketball, as long as she don't swing her elbows, and that was a foul. Now, I don't think people are canceling Sophie Cunningham. I don't think that. I don't think people were playing rough with Caitlin Clark. You play the game, Lil. You play the game. You look, you're a little younger than me. So the basketball in the 80s were the same basketball that the WNBA plays. The basketball in the late 80s was the same basketball physicality that the WNBA plays. As they got to the 2000s, still the same. It started slacking up in the mid 2020s, early 2010s. That's the nature of the WNBA's growth. There's going to be more athletic women coming in the league. It's going to open up. They're going to loosen the game up. But this notion that people are out to get people, that's ridiculous. And I hate that narrative because it's not true. And people that don't watch the WNBA, they say that because they don't watch the game. I watch 4 or 5 games a week. So I see the referee, and I'm an official. So I see the way. Now, they need some help with the calls because it's not consistent.
Clear.
It's not consistent. But I don't think people are out to get anyone in the WNBA. I never thought they were out to get Caitlin Clark. I think when you are a good player, people take away what you do well. So you pick Caitlin Clark up 50 feet from the basket because you know why? If you do that, she turns the ball over. And you know what she is? She leads the league in turnovers. That's smart basketball. But people don't want to see that. We talk about the political nature of it. People don't want to see that. Those senators that sent that email to the WNBA, they don't watch the games. They saw a play on TV that was repeated on TV, and they thought it was a great idea to send a letter to the WNBA about Caitlin Clark when women are getting fouled like that. They've been doing it for the last 10 years. But they saw it as a political stunt to push their agenda. Shame on them.
Look, Lee.
And personally, I'm never going to support stuff like that. I'm better than that.
And you know what, Lee? Guess what? We talking about it. Guess what? It's doing good for the sport. It's doing good for the sport. I'm a podcaster. You're a podcaster. And you know how many videos that I throw up there on TikTok that I know it's going to be unpopular? I do that for a reason.
Yeah.
Because I'm not looking for validation when it comes to my take. I'm looking for views.
Yeah.
I don't care if they're unpopular. I don't care if people go in the comments and hate me. I do not delete comments. Leave it up there. Drive the algorithm up. That's the name of the game. And the WNBA is not the NFL that could just print money off of its product alone that people's going to flock and care about. Now, you may care about it, Lee, but that don't mean I do. Now, I'm watching it more than I did before. But how many people, Lee, are like you that's consistent night to night when it comes to the WNBA? Not many. So the WNBA need to get the views how they can. And if the Senate and the political stuff comes into the game, then guess what? You accept it because you need the views. You need people talking about it on the shows because guess what, Lee? It brings in revenue.
Now, what
brings in supporters.
What brings in revenue is what they're doing that play on the field. They're playing in front of packed stadiums.
Listen, I've seen some horrible WNBA. Don't get me started with the play on the court. You seen that All-Star game, Lee? You seen that sequence in the All-Star game and people couldn't even make a daggone layup, Lee?
We watched the NBA we watched the NBA All-Star game every year, and it's horrible. What are you talking about?
It's better than that. It's better than that. That make the NBA look like gold.
The NBA All-Star game is the worst All-Star game in sports.
No, it's not. No, it's not. The WNBA is, and the NFL probably right under that.
Period. Well, that's why they scrapped the Pro Bowl format because it wasn't the same thing that the NBA should do. It's not.
Look, I get it, Lee. I get it. You know, and look, I am for the empowerment of the WNBA. Like I said, I just, you called me earlier today to watch the Atlanta game, and I sat through it. Now, Lee, I can't lie. It was a blowout. So, there's NBA games that, it was a blowout. I'm not watching. So I'm not going to penalize, that game. But I've been watching it more to support the WNBA, especially when we go on this mic and we talk about it more often than I ever did.
What I wanted you to do, Lil, was watch the skill of the ladies, right? That's what I wanted you. A lady like an Asia Wilson, and I wanted you to check her out. A young lady like a Jackie Young, I wanted you to check her out.
I mean, look, there is talented players in the WNBA
because now they're making millions of dollars, Lil, based off of their skill, whereas once before, the minimum salary was $79,000. Now the minimum salary is $400,000.
But Lee, we can't just act. And I get it. I understand your point. There is a lot of talented WNBA players, but we cannot act because when Maya Moore was doing her thing, the sport wasn't at its height. It wasn't popular as far as where it's at now. When Maya Moore was dominating the league. So clearly you can always have a dominant player, but it takes somebody global that's going to bring the eyes to the sport. And that's what Caitlin Clark did. Now, not only that, but the WNBA was going to be bankrupt, and Adam Silver and his NBA investors came in, invested into the sport, and all that happened. So, Lee, we can't just act like the WNBA is popular right now strictly due to talent. It's not. Now, talent helps.
I'm not. No,
talent helps a lot.
No.
But there's other factors that's making the WNBA more marketable.
Similar to when Magic Johnson
and it's off the court.
Very similar to when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird entered the NBA. When the NBA was playing on tape delay at 10:30 at night, they didn't even have live broadcast. When they entered the league, that black and white rivalry boosted the league. Same way Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark boosted the league from their rivalry in college, coming into the WNBA at the same time. Caitlin certainly brought a fan base that would have never come, and it has increased viewership by at least 300,000 people, which I totally agree. That's a beautiful thing.
And one thing I would say that's truly, this is reality. White people support their own. they show out for their own.
Well,
Larry Bird, Eminem. Okay, how many go to a random white person in the street who is a favorite hip hop artist? They're gonna say Eminem.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
They support their own. So the fact that Caitlin Clark is white, and like you would say, the White Hope or whatever you want to call her, Becky with the blonde hair, and she is talented on top of that.
Yeah,
she's going to bring in a lot of views. And
look, as a basketball player, I love Caitlin Clark because she's skilled.
But my point is, and this is the point that's going over your head, just like how white people support their own, politically, people support their own too, especially the Conservative Party, because the Conservative Party is not as mainstream as
that's not support. That's an agenda. That's an agenda. That's not support. That's not support.
That's an agenda or not. You ended in your first lap, and I want to end here on this topic when you said that the WNBA is becoming a hub for political commentary, and I think that's true. I think it's becoming a hub for political commentary right now, and in my eyes, I just believe if you're the WNBA, you ride that wave. Whatever talk you can get to grow your sport, it worked for me. Again, Lee, from my own experience, not yours, not the kid up the street, not Mama Dukes, not Papa Dukes. I wasn't watching the WNBA a couple years ago. You couldn't pay me to watch the WNBA a couple years ago. Couldn't pay me. I started watching the WNBA because things started to get interesting. Because you know what? We like narratives. I'm a WWE fan. I've been all my life. But the last couple of years, I was starting to lose touch. But you know what kept me like actually watching main events and whatnot was the story of the bloodline with Roman Reigns. I'm a Roman Reigns guy. So it was a narrative that got me to stay with the sport. You know what? I'm not going to totally abandon wrestling because my guys retired, like Shawn Michaels and John Cena and all those other greats, right? I don't know who the hell these other guys are. There's some new good guys now that I'm watching the sport more again. You know, I like Obafemi and all those guys, but it was a narrative that kept me in check. So, Lee, this world runs on narratives. And right now, the WNBA has narratives going on. Ride that wave. Get it how you can.
I'm a traditionalist when it comes to sport, okay? Wrestling is a little different. It's scripted a little bit, but I'm a traditionalist when it comes to sport because sport is about you versus me. The better man wins. The better woman wins. I don't think
the better. You know, let me not. I'm not. I plead the fifth. Dr. Anthony Fauci. My second time. I plead the fifth. Okay, we're gonna find out how many times I do that on the show before the night.
To me, sports is traditional, man. I that's why I like competition because sport. You can go mano a mano, the best person win. And if I'm better than you, I'm going to do everything, or you should do everything in your power to get better and work and get better. And that's what we're not seeing. I don't even think it's really that the political aspect of what those senators did, it hadn't gained any steam at all. I think it was just a stunt. It fizzled out, and we play basketball. And we've seen some of the highest rated WNBA games in the history of the league, and it's outperforming stuff like the Stanley Cup. So come on, sports growing where it should be.
We are going to move on here. I'll plead the fifth. Okay. I plead the fifth a long time ago, but good topic, Lee. Excellent topic per usual. We're going to keep it rolling.
Sports, politics, conspiracy theories. We are here to give you our unique perspectives on things happening in the world. It's the one and only, The Real Lil on The Real Lil Show.
I want to talk about Carmelo Anthony. All right. Carmelo Anthony. All right. I want to talk about him because he made some comments, I believe, on Pandemic P podcast. I call him Pandemic P. You know what I'm talking about. Paul George. Okay. Guys, a no show in the playoffs per usual. I want to play that clip, Lee. And then I want to get your reactions to that take. And this is going to open up another can of worms. Let's hear it from Carmelo Anthony.
All right, let's do it.
Hitting that on the back end because you've been a Knick legend.
I'm not doing it. I'm just
I'm just saying I know he left 113 on the table, but I know when he moving around New York, he ain't paying for shit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like as a New York legend, he established as a legend already in New York. Is he making that back up on the back end?
Off the court?
Off the court, moving around. Yeah. Like is 113, obviously that's a lot that listen. To
you
make
can't make 113 million off
but I'm
the
saying
court.
It's an incentive.
Like people's busting their ass out there and ain't making 113 million off the court. Right. And I'm talking about people who's been off the court or off the field for years and years, who are the biggest stars out there. They not making 100 off the court. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that right there is different. He's making something. He should be making something, right? 113 to make that up on the back end is crazy. Mm-hmm. So again, I don't know the logic and the thinking behind why he did it.
Lee, speaking of millions, I have this shirt on, Future Millionaire. Some people are millionaires and some people trying to be. Get rich or die trying. Okay. Positive energy out there, Lee. Yeah. But anyway, I want to know your thoughts on Carmelo Anthony and what he had to say there. Do you agree with him? Do you find factual statements there? Or is this something bigger? Is he wrong? Is he missing the overall picture? Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, nobody can make up, $113 million off the court. So I don't even, that conversation was kind of silly to me, right? That was just between him and Paul George, the back and forth about, is he making that up, just around the city, even if he was doing endorsements. I think the highest Jordan ever made off the court was $90 million. So, and he's Michael Jordan. So no, we're not going to, that one's kind of got out of hand for me. But when we look at what Jalen Brunson did, he made a decision based off of what his values were. And his values were, I'm going to take enough money that I'm comfortable with, not Carmelo Anthony, not Paul George, not anybody else, that I'm comfortable with so that my team can build a team because you know what? I want to win an NBA championship. And you know what? That's something that those two guys, hey, they're great players, the all-time great players, especially Carmelo, never did. So when the Knicks signed Carmelo Anthony and he re-upped, they didn't have enough money to go out and make those moves to help Carmelo, to make him a champion. So maybe Carmelo, if you would have took a little less, that may have helped you get to the promised land. But Jalen Brunson decided to do that. I find that great from a leadership perspective, from a forward-thinking perspective, that in his next contract, how can Dolan or anybody say anything when Jalen Brunson re-upped for his next contract? He'll make maybe not $113 million more. Maybe he could get close, but they can't say anything. So whatever the super max is, he's getting that and then some. So I just think it's great leadership. I think he's forward thinking. It makes him, I have a lot of respect for Jalen Brunson. For how he went about his business, how he conducted his business, how everybody was talking this, that, or the other. He couldn't do this. He couldn't do that. He took less money, all of this foolishness. And you know what he did? He went out and showed them, and now he's going to reap the benefits of it because they would run James Dolan out of New York on a rail if they come up and say that they can't pay Jalen Brunson when his next contract come around. So the pay cut to me, if he wanted to do it, fine. Some people don't want to do that. Some people want to make all the money they can. That's okay too. But Jalen Brown, Michael Jordan for years played for far less than his value every year. Every year. And you know what he did? He won 6 championships. And now he was getting a lot of money off the court, but he played for less money than others. And so it's been done before, and maybe Carmelo wouldn't do it. Maybe Paul George wouldn't do it. I commend Jalen Brunson for doing it.
Lee, when you talk about this topic, it's about economics, right? And let me be clear here, and I want to make a comparison. Here, Lil goes again with the cheesy analogy. I don't think y'all will find this cheesy. Not when I break this down, right? In the beginning, you might. It reminds me of the type of world that we're living in. And bear with me. Please be patient here, guys. Because I know I might lose you in the beginning, but I'm a reel you back in like a fish. Okay, we're going to reel you back in a minute, right? Right now, when you talk about the economy that we're living in today, it's a very different economy than it was yesteryear, right? My parents could pretty much make the same money that I'm making now. Good. They'd be good. They'd be straight up. Boom, boom, boom. They good money. But the reality is, I mean, I can't live like that because the purchasing power of the dollar is different today than it was back then. So Carmelo was in the league back then, and there were different things and systems in the NBA as it is different today. For example, the second apron didn't exist back in Carmelo's day, because back in Carmelo's day, you can take money and win. You can take money, get paid, and lead your team to a championship. It has been done before. But in today's NBA, can't do it. The second apron is going to penalize you as a team for spending. Okay, so there's only 2 ways you can win in today's NBA. You have to have a team with a bunch of stars on rookie deals, allied to Thunder 2 years ago. Well, last year, technically, that won the championship. Their guys was, and a bunch of their guys was on rookie deals. The Spurs this year that didn't win the championship but played in the championship, a bunch of their guys was on rookie deals. But the team who won the championship was the guy that took the pay cut. Those are the 2 alternatives of how you can win in today's NBA, which is different from Carmelo's NBA. Because Carmelo's NBA, his team would have got penalized for spending a lot as the team would today because of the second apron, because they wanted to create parity. So what Jalen Brunson did was a necessity for us to keep the team together to win. Because guess what? If you take a big contract, LI, Boston, Tatum got paid, Brown got paid, guess what? You got to gut your whole team. Out the window goes Jrue Holiday. Out the window goes Kristaps Porzingis. Out the window goes Jalen Brown eventually. Okay? So there's only 2 ways you can win in today's NBA. Your biggest star got to take a pay cut, or you have to have a core roster with the majority of your guys on rookie deals so everybody can get paid. Let's take Donovan Mitchell for a prime example. He just signed a massive contract recently, and you look at what he's going to make, I believe, in his 4th year. He's going to make $75.5 million by the 4th year of his deal. There's other guys that got to get paid on his team eventually. Mobley going to win another contract. Allen going to win another contract. Depth is going to have to be, they're going to want a contract. Otherwise, they're going to take it elsewhere where they can get it. So guess what? The Cavaliers, their best shot to win a championship was the one that they, the Knicks sent them home, which was recently, because guess what? They're not going to be able to keep that team together. So I don't see Donovan Mitchell winning the championship in the future. He can't even carry a team in the playoffs. He needs help. But how is he going to get that help? So my point being is that what Jalen Brunson did, a lot of people are going to have to do if they want to win, or their team is going to have to be hell good drafters. They're going to have to be able to draft guys that they could develop. Lee, Carmelo is speaking from a perspective of yesterday's NBA, just like how when we have our conversation with our parents about today's economy, you have to sit there and tell your parents, guess what, buddy? The economy is different today. My purchasing power is very different from yours. So we cannot have this conversation respectfully, parents. It's the same thing I'm saying with Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, I agree with a little bit of what you said. The bottom line is football and basketball, it's about talent acquisition, right? That's what the sports are about. And what happens to these teams, they do not have great talent evaluators, and it gets them in trouble every time because you just can't throw money to people that are not good for your organization or your team. And it's no different yesteryear when Carmelo played as it is now. People just throw money at people thinking that's the answer. No, you build a team, you hit it on the head, you develop your talent, and you pay them accordingly. Salary cap, whether it's a salary cap they had in Carmelo's day or the second apron, it's still you have to play. Every team plays within the same rules, Leo. It's not a different rule for this team or different rule from that team. It's about talent evaluation, making sure that you evaluate your talent. What I love about what Jalen Brunson did is he said, look, we're that close. I know what I need to win a championship. If I take less, we can put that money over here. We can put this money over there, and we can round out this team from a depth perspective and what we need. And he did that forward thinking because he was looking at what the team needed to be successful. I think his dad being on that roster and understanding that and having talks with his son, and ultimately his son made that decision, I think that was huge. And remember this, I agree with him. Now, I haven't seen a lot of commercials with Jalen Brunson in them. He's sort of more, passive as far as an outspoken guy. But his time is coming to make that money up.
Oh, yeah, you're going to make that money back.
And it's all about fitting it in. And then, you have to do the same thing, Leo. That's why they let Mitchell Robinson walk. You have to evaluate your team and see who can I keep. Who do I have that I've been developing that can step in? Who can I sign at the veteran minimum and manage your team? And, Carmelo, hey, if you want to take all the money, take all the money. It's okay. Yeah. I'm not telling people not to get paid. What I'm telling people is there's a method to winning championships.
There you go. Because I want people to know that too. When I'm saying all this, I'm not saying that don't take your money. At the end of the day, I would never turn down $113 million in my personal life. Okay. I'll be glad to make that. I want all that. Now, obviously, I'm in a different stratosphere, in a different, conversation than these NBA players, right? It's a different atmosphere. Now, with that being said, I'm not going to tell you to not take your money, right? But everything is a choice. At the end of the day, the second apron is a big thing that's literally impacted teams. Why you think you haven't had a dynasty as of late? Why do you think you didn't have a back-to-back as of late? Because of that specific thing. Because, obviously, that's how economics work. So if you're a star player, and this is not even talking about the veteran guys or the veteran minimum guys, they're going to take whatever largest contract they get, and they should, because they're not going to make the money that JB is going to make or Carmelo Anthony once made. So, yeah, you go and take your money. But I'm talking about the stars here, your superstar players that are getting these $400 million a year contracts. I'm talking about those guys, because those guys got to make a decision. Do I want to be the highest paid, or do I want to win a championship and take a pay cut? Victor Wembanyama took a little bit of a pay cut.
Absolutely.
Because he wants to win a championship. He got a taste of what it could be like because he was very close to winning one. So he's like, you know what? I like the way how this feel. I want to go for it. And a lot of these players don't know what that taste is like. That's why they content with putting up stats and getting paid. Fine, by all means, knock yourself out. But Carmelo Anthony here, and although I'm a fan of Carmelo Anthony, obviously me being a Knickerbocker, I respect his contributions to this franchise. He missed the overall point here. And the fact in that clip, at the end of the clip, he says, I don't know why he took the pay cut. I mean, what do you mean you don't know why? The results were there. That's why he did it. Literally what happened It's why he did it. We won a championship because of it. You think he wanted to turn down $113 million? You think he woke up saying, you know what? Don't pay me. I'll play without a contract. No, he did it because other guys had to eat. And it actually helps when those other guys is his boys. Yeah. On top of that.
People, I'm not saying that in any sport and football, everybody wants to win.
Tom Brady prioritized it. He took mad pay cuts, and he made it in the back end. Look at his broadcasting deal with Fox.
Well, there you go. It's all about what sacrifice you're willing to make to win that championship, right? And sacrifice could be your play. It could be, you lifting weights like Jordan did after Detroit beat him up like a dog. It could be sacrificing money. There's a sacrifice to winning, right?
Yep.
And Carmelo, look, great player, great player. But you know what? He ain't put one of them rings on his finger. He never played in the NBA Finals. And maybe if you had to sacrifice some of that money and brought in some others that fit what you needed as help to get over the hump, the results may have been different. We don't know that for sure.
And look how long he took to sacrifice his role to stay in the NBA. It took him a minute.
Yeah. And those are the things that when you start talking about the successful people in life, it's about what you're willing to sacrifice. And if you're not willing to sacrifice, there's been great players, Leo, that have played professional sports. But you know what? If they aren't willing to make that sacrifice, hey, you don't get that ultimate. And you look back on some of the favorite people that ever played sport, you're like, man, I can't believe he never won a ring. There are reasons why these people hadn't won rings.
And sacrifices come in all shapes and forms. Muhammad Ali sacrificed for his beliefs. It worked out for him in the back end. Kyrie Irving passed up money, sacrificed for his beliefs. It paid him back in the back end. So at the end of the day, and we'll end here, as my guy Lee put it, and I agree with 1,000%. If you want to win a championship, the question is, what are you willing to sacrifice for? And Carmelo, you wasn't really willing to do so. And fortunately, Carmelo, as much as it pains me to say it, that's why you don't have a ring, buddy. And that's why Jalen Brunson does.
Yeah. And Leo, he'll forever be held in such esteem for what he did and that ring that he has that nobody can take away. And all the people, and I'll end on this, and all the people that talk about that, you know what? 10, 15 years from now, ain't nobody going to talk about that. They're going to say, remember that little 6'2" guy dominating and got a ring when people 6'8", 6'10", 7 feet never did.
And you know what? When you take a pay cut like that, that's why he showed up in the playoffs. You ain't going to put that money aside and not show up. You're not going to put that money aside and turn that money down and put in horrible playoff performances. You're not doing that. He bet on himself. It was an investment on himself and the team, and he paid his dues.
And he won. Absolutely.
And he won. And that's just what it is. And ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up another episode of The Real Lil Show. Another banger per usual. Make sure you like and subscribe if you like what you heard. And Lee, by all means, man, per usual, as we do at the end of these segments, plug yourself in, man.
As always, after the Buzzer Show with Lee Jones, every Sunday, 6:30 p.m. We do it live. And like I said, I always like coming on here, man, because, I always say this. If we could talk more about stuff the way you and I do, Leo, then the world would be a better place, because, there is no hate when we discuss things. We come from different age groups. We come from different regions of the country. We have different opinions. But at the end of the day, there's a mutual respect and love there. And I love coming on your show, brother. Keep up the great work.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. Could have said it any better than that. And until the next episode that we do, we're going to continue to push these, episodes out, this content out. And we just hope that y'all buying into what we are putting out there, and you will continue to support it and pass it along.